Welcome to Young Turks. I'm your host, Cenk. We got a lot of news for you today. You're going to be shocked to find out that a lot of it has to do with Bin Laden, Al-Qaeda, Afghanistan, Pakistan. I'm going to come for those Pakistani folks in a second. Not the actual folks, but the country and their leaders, mainly their intelligence unit. But we also have non-Bin Laden related news today. Apparently they had an election up in Canada. Who knew that? Well, I have the results. And unfortunately, the results prove that once again I am right. Well, you know, I'm a little unbearable, so let's just keep it rolling. Okay. On the issue of Bin Laden, we start with what I was right about. Okay. So yesterday, we had accounts that Bin Laden's wife was shot and killed, and she was used as a human shield, and Al-Qaeda had fought back, you know, within the compound, obviously, Bin Laden, but that they had done so by using this woman as a shield. And as you're about to see in this clip, I wasn't quite buying it. Let's watch. Now, speaking of legends and questionable stories, that story about the wife being used as a human shield, all right, let's see how that one plays out, okay? Because, look, if you accidentally kill a woman in the middle of this incredibly important raid that the whole world is going to talk about forever, and it's certainly going to talk about right now, what's the best cover story? Oh, they used her as a human shield. Because that hits two birds with one stone. We didn't mean to kill her. They killed her basically by using a shield. And then second of all, look at this bitch Bin Laden. Okay, trying to protect himself by using his wife as a shield. What a bitch. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so it's a little too convenient. That was yesterday on the program. Today we find out, in fact, Bin Laden's wife was not killed. She was shot in the leg. Were any of the women used as human shields? Nope. But partly mission accomplished, because I've now read many articles where that old version is in there and never corrected. Like, and exactly like this punk Bin Laden. Oh, I thought he was so tough. What's happening? Now he's using women as shields. You think you're ever going to stop that story? No. And look, that's a good question as to why, if that was on purpose or not. I don't know the answer to that question. You know, you think on the one hand they don't want to get embarrassed by correcting themselves the next day. On the other hand, the great amount of people who get their news on this get it on the first day. By the time you correct it a day or two later, not so many people get that correction, right? And that's what happened today. They're like, yeah, human shield, not so much. Second correction. They're like, yeah, that part about Bin Laden firing back, no, not really. He didn't have a gun. So, all right, but I thought our job was, Brennan said, look, if we can capture him, we'd capture him. If not, we would kill him. All right, fair enough. That certainly makes sense. I'm on board for that. Now, Jay Carney, the White House spokesperson, said there was concern that Bin Laden would oppose the capture operation, and indeed he resisted. And people asked, what do you mean he resisted? He didn't. You said he just didn't have any weapons. He said, yes, but it's he resisted. That's literally what he said. He just repeated it, right? But I literally don't know what that means. Like, was he like karate chopping them? Was he like, watch out? Hiya! Right? Was he using jujitsu? Did he look at him kind of funny? Look, I'm not going to judge the SEAL team that did it. I don't know what was happening that day. But all I'm saying is, it's a fishy story when you tell me that he resisted but didn't have any weapons at all. I don't know how he resisted, right? I'm not saying it was the wrong move. I'm just saying that story doesn't make too much sense. So, okay, now all of a sudden, those details come out, and they're not quite what you heard in the past. And look, again, to my unbearable bragging, let me just tell you what the point is again. I like to remind people of this. Do I feel a little good about it? Come on, keep it real. Of course, right? But the real point is, so when I tell you something like, hey, you know what, for example, Kent Conrad and the Democrats might come out with a plan that actually lowers taxes, even though it's supposed to reduce the deficit, trust me, I didn't make it up. I got it from the news stories. By the way, later in the program, Kent Conrad and the Democrats come up with a plan that, in order to lower the deficit, lowers taxes. Does that make any sense? It doesn't. The only way it makes sense is if you know what's going on, and that's what we try to explain on this show. So we'll get to that story in a little bit. So that's the updates on Bin Laden's wife and Bin Laden fighting back. Now, let me get to, oh, yes. So one last thing on this whole being right, not being right analysis, etc., right? I found the article. Remember yesterday I was telling you that I had based my prediction that bin Laden would be killed partly in an article that explained how there could only be a certain amount of compounds within a certain area that could contain bin Laden, and I thought that was persuasive. Now, it was in conjunction with a number of other articles that I had read that led me to believe that the walls were closing in on bin Laden. But I found the original one, and it was actually a research project that was put together by UCLA. It was Professor Gillespie from UCLA that had done this with his students, and they said that there was an 88.9% likelihood that he was in a certain 300-kilometer region. And as we explained on the show last night, he was in a 300-kilometer region of Waziristan, which happened to be Abbottabad, and he was in a compound much like the one that they described. And I didn't just read that article and go, oh, yeah, that must be true. No, I looked into it, and I thought, well, does it make sense or does it not? And it made all the sense in the world. There was a number of restrictions for a place like bin Laden to live, and there could only be so many compounds in that area. And that was back in 2009. So forget my prediction, okay? The intelligence community totally should have read that UCLA study that I was ranting and raving about on the show. Because they were right, because it was logical. So instead, we took 2 more years to put it together. Now, as it turns out, look, it worked. You certainly give credit to the intelligence community for figuring it out, etc. But if they had read the UCLA paper a couple of years ago, they might have had to step up in the right direction. So, and probably that's probably why I got the prediction partly wrong, that I gave it too much of a time frame. I assumed that they read the same stuff that I did. Apparently, they were like, UCLA, what would they know? Yeah, bin Laden in a compound, in a Abbottabad. Get out of here. What? He is? Washington. Okay. Anyway. All right. More on predictions. Oh, come on. No. This is okay. So it's about President Obama, right? We said that his approval numbers would go up, and they have, but there's a twist here, right? So his handling of terrorism has gone up 7 points from 60 to 67. Frankly, I don't even understand that. His approval rating on terrorism right now should be 99%. I mean, what more do you want from the guy? Okay, he killed bin Laden. I mean, there it is. Anyway, okay. But, of course, a third of the country is never going to be convinced that Obama's doing the right thing no matter what. And his handling of Afghanistan rose from 51 to 58%. All right, well, that's an interesting thing, but that'll probably go back down. And I don't really know what they mean by his handling of Afghanistan. Of course, bin Laden was killed in Pakistan, partly related to Afghanistan, but not so much. And on that same question, this is a Washington Post poll, by the way, will we achieve our goals in Afghanistan? That number rose the most, from 49 to 64. Well, that partly depends on what you mean by achieving our goals. If you mean killing bin Laden, yeah, we just achieved them. So, check, congratulations, I agree. Now let's go. By the way, Governor Brian Schweitzer of Montana saying, we got to go, we got to go, we got to go. It's like, look, we got to spend that money here. Of course, you know me, I think he's totally right. He's like, okay, we got bin Laden. What else do you want? What are we hanging out in Afghanistan for? More on that in a little bit. But the interesting part of the poll on President Obama, his overall approval numbers, according to a CNN poll, that's a different poll, went up only 1%. Man, I'm shocked at how low a bounce that is. I mean, that's almost non-existent. Went from 51 to 52%. The dude just killed bin Laden. That's pretty good. I'm really surprised at how low that is. You know what that tells me? It could be a couple of different things, but my first reaction to that is, man, people care about the economy and they don't care about anything else. They're like, yeah, you got bin Laden. That's lovely. I just paid $4.53 a gallon for gas. Okay? And my brother Joe's been out of work for 18 months. Okay, let's get back to it. Which, by the way, then goes to Brian Schweitzer's point. Bring the money back home. What are we doing? What are we doing? Stop spending that money in Afghanistan and in Iraq, etc. We've already spent $1.25 trillion in Iraq and Afghanistan. First of all, Iraq, a total and utter waste of money. Second of all, about $440 billion or so to Afghanistan of questionable use. We flushed bin Laden out, and that's about it. It's a little oversimplistic, but close. Joseph Stiglitz says that that number is really $3 trillion and how much it's going to cost us just Iraq alone. When you put all the other costs in, he's a Nobel laureate, of course. Afghanistan might be another $1 trillion or more, and then you have another $1 trillion in the effects that it's had on Homeland Security. It's a great piece by Ezra Klein on that. All these trillions flown out the window. And today on the MSNBC show, we did a breakdown of how little time it would take to save that $38 billion in cuts that they just made that were so draconian, that hurt so much, education, labor, health and human services, etc. 19 weeks in Afghanistan. Come on, is there really any American who's going to be like, no, cut my kids' education. Make sure you cut the EPA because I want it to pollute more. Yeah, there are some Americans who will say that, by the way. Cut everything else. Make sure my health and human services are not protected. Okay, do all those different cuts. Cut, funding to the states, et cetera, because I really need to stay in Afghanistan 19 more weeks. By the way, to give you a sense of it, the EPA cuts, $1.6 billion in cuts, less than 6 days in Afghanistan. Let's go. We gotta go. Brian Schweitzer is right. Okay. So I want to, look, I don't think the American people have given President Obama enough credit. Who said that? Okay, I said that, right? At least in regards to this, right? But on the other hand, the media love to just, they love making heroes and villains, etc. So I've now read many fawning articles about President Obama kept such a poker face. Unbelievable. As he was hunting down bin Laden, he went to go play golf. He went and did the White House Correspondents' Dinner. He never let on. It was amazing. What was he going to do? Panic? Like, go up to the White House Correspondents' Dinner and be like, all right, now let me tell you about the person. Oh, my God, we're going up to Trump and just don't tell anybody. No, he's not going to panic. Of course he's going to. In fact, I'm shocked that he went to play golf. I know they want to keep up the regular schedule, etc. All right, I'll give him that one. That's pretty cool, man. Like, oh, yeah, we're about to kill bin Laden. I'll get back to you in a couple of holes. Okay? Now, it was planned out so that it would be well after he finished golf. But still, yes, I am amazed at, I guess, how indifferent he seemed to the outside world. But I'm not sure we give him the credit for like, what a good poker player. I don't know, am I being too much of a jerk? But I mean, like, what was he supposed to do? Like fumble and bumble and get nervous and be like, I can't tell you anything, but there's something crazy going on. All right, anyway, it's a minor thing. It's not a big deal. All right, look, actually, let's take a quick break here because when we come back, here's what I want to do. The right wing is trying to insist. You know how yesterday we told you they want to give President Bush credit for getting bin Laden. But we dispense with that. I mean, we did that yesterday here on MSNBC. I threw the elbow from the sky. We'll see how badly it connected on Republican heads in a little bit as they see the segment and go, how dare you. All right, anyway. But today, they're saying, what are you talking about? Obviously, it was the torture that got us all the information. Well, we're going to prove them wrong. So come right back. Welcome to the Young Turks. The Al-Qaeda and bin Laden stories will not end. Okay, so we've got more for you guys. Let's start with Richard Mendenhall. Now, these Steelers are a little embarrassing. First, we had Roethlisberger capturing folks in a bathroom. That didn't work out. Then we now have Richard Mendenhall doing tweets about Osama bin Laden. Don't do it. Don't do it. Can't play with it. Can't win with it. But here he comes nonetheless. First, he says, what kind of person celebrates death It's amazing how people can hate a man they have never even heard speak. We've only heard one side. Really? There's another side, Richard?
By the way, we have heard him speak several times on several different occasions where he releases these creepy videos.
Totally.
So yeah, we've heard him speak. We know all about this guy.
Right. Now, of course, if you don't know, Rashard Mendenhall is the running back for the Steelers. Had a great season last year, so be cool on the criticism, okay? But nonetheless, so of course the first thing is, what the hell is he talking about? What's the other side, right? It turns out he's one of those guys who believes maybe 9/11
was an inside job.
Inside job business, okay? So he's like, oh, you know, they say it's Bin Laden, buildings burning down, Shanksville thing, you know, they got all the different theories, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, anyway, Shanksville. Okay, so tweet number 2. I believe in God, I believe we're all his children, and I believe he is the one and only judge. So what? Like, so I guess that's supposed to say, like, don't judge Bin Laden. Oh, come on, dude, come on. Tweet number 3. Those who judge others will also be judged themselves. It's true. I judge people all the time on this show, people like Bin Laden, and conservatives. And then I get called fat. Turns out Mendenhall is right. I shall also be judged. Number 4, and it turns out, by the way, I have a funny name. Did you know that? Number 4, for those of you who said you want to see Bin Laden burn and piss on his ashes, I ask, how would God feel about your heart?
Oh, come on. Okay. Come on.
This ain't got nothing to do with God, man. You started this crazy 9/11 stuff, and now all of a sudden it's about God, and you're hiding behind him. Who said they want to piss on his ashes? It's at the bottom of the ocean. It wouldn't do you any good. Okay, but all of a sudden it's like, how would God feel about that? Well, I'm an agnostic, so I guess I don't really care what God would think about that, but this doesn't really explain any of what you're doing. And then, of course, people have accused him of ignorance, and he says, there is not an ignorant bone in my body. I just encourage you to think. All right, so, of course, time to judge. TYT, that's how we roll. But later, we will be judged. I know, because I read it in a tweet. So, Rashard Mendenhall, guilty or not guilty? Me, I'll go first. Obviously not guilty. Why? He's a Steeler. All right.
Oh, you are the worst.
Well, look, I mean, I'm sitting there trying to figure out the bathroom situation for Roethlisberger to try to get him out of that. You think I'm not going to defend this guy? Okay, yes.
I don't agree with him. He's, of course, free to share his opinions on Twitter, and if he wants to sound ignorant, then he's allowed to sound ignorant. It's protected under the First Amendment. But look, the only thing that I would say about the Bin Laden killing is I wish he would have suffered a little more before getting killed. So I'm on the complete opposite end of the spectrum.
What about God in his heart?
You know what I would have loved? I would have loved some form of justice. Like, you know, of course he was hiding out for 10 years in somewhat of a mansion.
I mean, yeah, that was a questionable mansion if you ask me, but nonetheless.
It was a questionable mansion, I agree with you, but, you know.
But it was a mansion, like, for Pakistan.
Yeah, of course. So, well, we don't know that.
Okay. No, we do. It was 8 times larger than the other house in the area.
Okay, so he didn't really suffer at all, in my opinion. I would have.
He got a bullet in the head. That was
he got no, but a bullet in the head. You get shot, and that's it. You're done. It's over. You know, it's resisting. Painless.
Okay. All right, J.R. Jackson, Rashard Mendenhall, guilty or not guilty?
I'll go not guilty. I mean, you don't have to agree with what anybody says, because this is the thing. It's all based in we're a Christian nation. We believe in God. I mean, in reality, if you believe in what you're saying, then you don't wish all this stuff. You don't relish in someone burning in hell. We're human, though. We relish in him burning in hell because that's where we are. We're vengeful humans. But you can't say one thing and do the other, is all I'm saying. You can be, and things you can be upset with him, but you can't. I don't think we can come after him that hard. I mean, he's a football player. No, and he has to have an opinion.
I think we're unanimous. Okay, and look, the kidding aside. Like, do I agree with Mendenhall? Of course I don't agree with Mendenhall. And I'm not even a Christian, so yeah, I can be vengeful. I got nothing holding me back from being vengeful. Okay? But at the same time, look, if we get into everybody's, you know, every football player, every basketball player, et cetera, what do they think? Do they think it's an inside job? If they think 9/11 is an inside job, that we need to grab the pitchforks and go after this and go after that, okay, so that's what he thinks. Who cares? All right? So not guilty as in the sense of, like, we will not take any disciplinary action. So, are we not merciful?
What would our disciplinary action be? I'm very curious.
Well, burn his jerseys. Don't go to the games.
No,
Boo
Jake
him when
would
he touches
still
the
go.
ball. I
Of
mean, that's what's going to
course.
happen.
Dude, I'm really hoping I can draft him next year. Anyway, I hope he doesn't blow up on my team.
Oh, please.
With something? I don't know. Where's that laugh?
Come on.
Come on.
Give me
a break. Okay, all right. So that's Mendenhall. What's next?
All right. The filmmakers behind The Hurt Locker are now planning on creating a movie behind the Bin Laden story. So Bin Laden getting captured, shot. It's going to be a thriller. People are going to watch it. People are going to love it.
All right. I thought the made-for-TV movie started like the minute the news broke, like halfway through Obama's speech. Somebody was already getting ready, like, all right, who we're going to get? You know, we're going to get, you know, Michael J. Fox will play the president. I don't know. Well, that doesn't make any sense.
The most random.
Okay,
Yeah, okay. Fail.
Okay, here's who shouldn't be a casting agent. Me. Who should we get to play the black guy? I don't know, that short white guy. Okay, anyway, so, but these are legitimate folks, right? And they
Yes.
were actually working on this movie before the capture even happened.
Absolutely. Director Kathleen Bigelow and also Mark Bold, screenwriter of The Hurt Locker. They were working on it a couple of years prior to this news, and now it's like, oh, we're definitely going to go full speed ahead with this movie. It's going to be a thriller. We have no idea what the details are. We don't know when they're planning on having it finished or when it's going to be released. But
No. I'm just thinking like Dick Cheney, played by Denzel Washington. Jake Euchre's casting. It makes no sense. Osama bin Laden, played by Lucy Liu. Okay. All right. Anyway, well, I guess they're on top of it. You got to give them credit for that. They probably were going to go in a slightly different direction. Now, you know, they're given the real life events. But you know what? The thing is, sometimes I fear that those real life event movies are kind of cheesy. That's why I was thinking like made for TV kind of things. They're going to have to class it up somehow.
I don't think they're cheesy.
No, you don't think so? I feel like every time there's like, and then they boarded the ship, and then they'd make the TV movie. And
I see what you're saying,
You know
but
what
I
I'm
think there are movies that are tastefully done. Like Milk was one of my favorite movies. I thought it was a really good true life event.
Well, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
It all depends on how you do it, and I think, you know.
Actually, you know what? Guilty. I have been wrong throughout this entire story, okay? Because Black Hawk Down was awesome. And that was a real life thing that is very similar to this as to what happened in Somalia, except it went bad in that scenario. Okay. Ignore everything I have said. I can't wait for the movie.
My
Can't
pleasure.
wait.
Ignored.
Ignored. Well, here's what I'm trying to figure out. How they're going to show in the movie what we talked about in the first hour, which is Osama bin Laden resisting without a weapon. Who was that football player that died in Miami? The one that had the machete?
Sean Taylor.
Sean Taylor, yeah, that's it. Maybe he pulled a Sean Taylor. Maybe he was like, whoosh, took out a machete.
You can resist. Maybe he got up and started running. He's resisting capture. I don't know.
Look, I'm going to keep it real with you, okay? Here's the order that they
Do
gave.
a couple like, clothes at him. I don't know.
Yeah, no, he tried to headbutt him. He's like, no, ineffective way to fight a Navy SEAL. No, look, realistically, between you and I, okay, the order they gave that team, that Navy SEAL team, okay, it's obviously speculation, but was like, go get the guy. If he resists even a little bit, like he blinks the wrong way and such, boom, take him out.
I guarantee you that there was like zero resistance. Zero. I bet they walked in and they shot him immediately. Like, how do you not, I don't want to say emotions, like how do you not let your emotions get to you, but how do you not let, your emotions get to you? Like anyone who runs into or finds him, someone that we've been searching for 10 years, as soon as you find him, all of those feelings of anger for what he did. I mean, I guess I'm sharing with you guys what I would do if I was in this situation.
No, you're totally off. They're not acting based on emotion. They're acting based on orders.
Right.
Here's what they didn't want. You bring bin Laden back to the U.S., then you got to try him. Okay, and then they're going to say, oh, you're going to try him in Guantanamo. They're going to get into an enormous mess. And the Republicans are going to say, no, you got to try him here. You can't try him there. The Democrats are going to say this.
So you shoot him immediately.
Yeah, you shoot him immediately. Throw him in the bottom of the ocean. Problems are solved. He twitched the wrong way. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and then if you got him on land, and then do you execute him or do you not execute him? Do you give him the death penalty? If you do, then that's a whole nother procedure. Then where do you bury him? Yada yada. It's a disaster. So they're like, dude, one little twitch, and he's an end of this. That's my speculation on that. Okay, I'd be very surprised if that weren't the case.
They could have missed in the beginning and got his kneecaps instead. And then waited a couple minutes.
Man, she's like the opposite of Mendenhall, man. She really wanted that dude to come back to you. We'll come back to you in 38 minutes. Because it lasted 38 minutes. All right, come on, let's finish this guy up. No, I don't think they did it that way.
No, of course they didn't.
Of course
do
they
that.
got to do it in the middle of the action so it doesn't seem like an execution.
Right.
Like, oh, it's in the heat of action. Oh, there he is. You know what I'm saying?
I love his acting today.
Okay. By the way, don't get me wrong. I'm not judging, man. It is what it is. Sad day. All right.
I agree.
Let's move forward.
All right. Yahoo released statistics to show what the top internet searches have been ever since the story of Osama bin Laden getting killed broke. Okay, and what they found is that when it comes to 13 to 17-year-olds, 66% of them search for who is Osama bin Laden.
Disaster.
Disaster. Oh my. How do you not? 66% of searches for the age group of 13 to 17.
No, I'm sorry. To be fair to them, no, 66% of the searches for who is Osama bin Laden was 13 to 17.
That's what I said, yeah.
I thought you were saying that 66% of 13 to 17-year-olds got online and searched who's Osama bin Laden. No. 66%. Of all of the searches that 13 to 17-year-olds did on Yahoo, 66% were Osama bin Laden. No. Of all the people who searched who is Osama bin Laden, 66% of those people were 13 to 17-year-olds.
Ah, tricky. Then all of a sudden the story is not as relevant.
Okay, well, sad day.
Done. But still, it doesn't matter. Everyone should know who Osama bin Laden is.
No. You're right. So, fifth most searched thing for Osama bin Laden was, who is Osama bin Laden? So, that is amazing. It's still an amazing story. Look, the top 10, I'm amused by. The top 8 searches on bin Laden, I like it. All right, first is Osama bin Laden dead? Very logical. Okay. Number 2 is, how did Osama bin Laden die? Totally logical. Number 3, who killed Osama bin Laden? Okay, fine. 4, how old is Osama bin Laden? Okay, all right, interesting. You know what? Now I'm kind of curious. How old was bin Laden? He was 54? No.
I think so. From what I read, I read something. I didn't read it carefully, but that's the number in my head.
Come on, do a search on it. Okay. Number 5, who is Osama bin Laden? That's amazing to me. What name so? Anyway, number 6, where was Osama bin Laden killed? Number 7, is Osama bin Laden dead or alive? Number 8, how tall is Osama bin Laden? I like that people are curious about the little details.
That's so random. That's the most random detail.
No, it's not random. It's because he's known as being tall. And the answer, by the way, is 6'6".
Jeez, that is tall.
Isn't that amazing? Maybe they were trying to fire warning shots above his head, but the dude was just too tall. They're like, damn, shit, we hit him in the head. He was resisting. Okay. Anyway. All right. Do you have the answer, JR?
54 years old.
Wow. I thought he was like in his 60s. Definitely. That dude, the beard makes you look older. All right. Okay, what's next?
All right.
One more bin Laden story, right?
We don't have one more bin Laden story.
Oh, that was all those same tweeters and stuff.
Right.
Right. There's all the tweets, too. All these kids like, why is everybody so excited? Who's this bin Laden guy?
No, the tweets were awesome. I was amused by them. One of them is, of course, who is bin Laden and why should I care? Who is bin Laden? Is he famous? Am I the only one who don't know who he is? Another one is, I'm probably retarded for asking this, but who is Osama and why is it so good he died? Who is Osama and why is it important we killed him?
No, here comes my favorite. Who's Osama bin Laden? Is he in a band or something? Is he in a band as well? No, well, he's in a band of very unmarried men. No, he's not a singer. He's not in a band. But look, to be fair, come on, to be fair to the 13 to 17-year-olds, they were 3 to 7.
But no, it doesn't matter. We've been fighting this war on terror for how long? There's no excuse.
For almost their entire lives.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not like like we're asking them, like, come on, you didn't know Ayman al-Zawahiri? We're asking Osama bin frickin' Laden.
This story reminds me of something. When I traveled with a tour group in Europe, most of the people were made up of non-Americans. So there were Australians, South Africans, people from all over the world. And it was amazing to me how much they knew about American history and about American current events, and how little, the few Americans on the tour knew about their culture and about things that were happening in their country. And it just shows you, like, for some reason, a huge majority of the youth here in the United States just doesn't follow the news. They have no idea what's going on in our own country. It's a little scary.
Well, the rest of the world knows about us because we rule. So, I mean...
Oh, yeah, we're ruling. Absolutely.
Hey, listen, sad day for you. You got to find out what's going on here. Okay, I just figured out that there was a Quebec separatist movement. I was going to go...
It's Quebec, isn't it?
Quebec. I was going to pronounce the name of the... But by the way, I'm kidding. I knew there was a separatist movement, but there was a lot I didn't know about the Canadian system before today. And I was going to try to pronounce the name of the group, the Quebec group. I was like, I've learned that lesson the hard way.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Because at first, I wanted to do that story in my hours, so I had researched the pronunciation of that.
Do you remember it or no?
No. I'm not even going to attempt it.
Come on.
I actually practiced it several times, and then when you told me, no, we're going to do it in my hour, I was like, great. Wasted all my time trying to learn the pronunciation of this word.
Now you don't even remember. You see, what an American. All right. Anyway, okay, what's next?
A neo-Nazi person in Riverside, California has been shot and killed by his own 10-year-old son. The 10-year-old admitted to authorities that he did shoot his father and that it was not an accident. He said he purposely did it. But authorities are not releasing information as to why the 10-year-old son shot him. The man's name was Jeff Hall, and he was also the regional director of the National Socialist Movement. He was, the night before he got shot, he hosted a meeting in his house on how they can stop illegal immigrants from crossing the Mexico-Arizona border. He's against immigrants. He's against anyone who's not white.
Really? Shocking. Well, if you raise your son to be a Nazi, it is, and I don't know that this happened, by the way, I'm just saying, it could turn out that he's like, all right, Dad, I'm going to shoot you and kill you. And you're like, why? He's like, because I'm a Nazi. Right?
Another thing is, a neighbor told authorities that, she knew that the house had several guns. In fact, she spoke to the press and said that she saw authorities removing several guns from the household. And you have a 10-year-old son. He was actually the oldest of his 5 sons. So you have all of these young children in your home. Why are you keeping loaded guns all over the house like it's no big deal?
Because you're a Nazi.
Okay. I know. These people have no logic and no reasoning, so I don't know why I'm even asking this question. But
look, seriously, on what might have happened with the kid, and obviously it's just speculation since they have not released the facts yet. But one, if you teach the kid violence is the right answer, and if you're a neo-Nazi, you're probably constantly talking about how there's got to be violence against this group and that group, etc. That was the whole point of the Nazis, was tremendous violence against other groups. Shocking that your son decided that the correct course of action was violence, right? And the second part of that speculation is, look, the guy's twisted in the head. Who knows what he did to the kids, and why that 10-year-old thought it made sense to shoot his dad. So, and then lastly, if your dad was a Nazi, maybe you'd shoot him too. I mean, I don't know. Right?
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. If you're gonna preach violence to your kids, don't be surprised when violence bites you in the ass.
Right.
Or shoots you in the head.
I was going to say sad day, but, well, I guess it's still a sad day. I don't want to piss off Richard Mendenhall. Okay. All right.
Should we take a break?
We'll
Let's
come
take a
right
break.
back.